the more the push from the supply side, I can see a situation where we got choked up. Because as we go inland into Africa, where the goods are supposed to go to, there are a lot of challenges to do with non-tariff barriers. A lot of challenges probably similar to the ones mentioned for Saudi Arabia. The movement of goods from the seaports in Africa into the inland countries is not that efficient when you compare to the situation that we've been given with Dubai. Is there anything being done to really look into the actual movement of the cargo when they get to the seaports, when they get into Africa? Then my last question is to do with the new airport. I'm just surprised that there's a new airport when I thought where we landed it was really a new improved airport. Is the new airport envisaged to be an expansion of the current one, or it's a separate project altogether? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. And to talk about the whole shipment in Africa and the infrastructure, I would like to say a few words, really. Number one is I consider myself extremely lucky and privileged to have had the opportunity to visit many countries in Africa. It is completely different in terms of what is portrayed sometimes when you look at the continent. Rarely does one have a true feel of what Africa is all about until you actually go and feel and interact with these very exciting markets. The problem is mainly the initiatives that the leadership in Africa needs to take control over to bring change. I am involved with the different blocks in Africa as we were organizing these different business forums such as COMESA, SADC, ECOWAS, East Africa Community, and others. And it is clear to me that the people, that the will is definitely there to make that change. But the challenges remain if that interest is not devoted completely towards the prosperity of these markets, of these nations, of the people of these markets. And I see, frankly speaking, some very strong progress that is happening. And this is what we're trying to do in Dubai across these different platforms and forums, that we bring the leadership of Africa. We want to bring the leadership of countries in South Asia, because when you connect people and when you discuss issues frankly on the table, you bring these challenges on the table, then you hope that this is being taken then seriously and change comes next. It is exactly what we're doing here today. I mean, we're talking about Africa, we're talking about South Asia, and it's really making benefit of the network, raising the challenges that you can only move forward. And we hope, as Dubai, as a Chamber of Commerce, as our partners here, different institutions, that we can contribute to that for the benefit of both people and businesses in general. Thank you.
I have a comment to make, and being very involved in this conference, I had the privilege of seeing the presentations that will follow post-lunch for the Africa region. And there's a lot of solutions in those presentations. Joseph, to what you're talking about, there is progress. I think there is frustration, but I think it's good to have frustration, as long as it's for the right reason. But the few presentations that I went through, I sat up at midnight looking at them, and I said, things are changing. So you will see that later in the afternoon, of the changes that you talk about and you dream of. I think it's a question of time, it will happen.
To answer the last question, actually is the easy one. In terms of will Dubai have 2 airports? Yes, Dubai will have 2 airports, even with Al Maktoum International opening. It's managed by Dubai Airports Company that manages both the airports. So that's to answer coming forward, there will be 2 airports managed. Yes, Al Maktoum International is coming up as the sort of the major airport. With the first phase, you look at about 120 million passengers. It will become probably the primary airport, considering the growth that you're seeing with Emirates and all the other airlines that want to serve. There's a lot of ambition. There are other airlines who are looking at coming into this region, and hence why this is the growth. Now, the question you asked about why you're expanding some of the facilities on the ground with the DXB, we've got a good, it's basically, unfortunately, we've got a good problem. There is a growth. We need to expand. We don't want to lose that growth to other airports. But unfortunately, we do have to expand both. We've got to expand this current airport, and we simultaneously build the new airport parallelly in order to keep up with those growth. Now, the question about the Manessa, we didn't want to shock our audience with too many new terminologies, because that Manessa is more of an understanding. You're absolutely right. It's mainly East Africa in that sort of the graphic. And there is a reason why we selected those. We looked at connectivity, we looked at sort of the trade partners, we looked at other aspects of historically looking at it from a supply chain, how can you serve? And those are currently, with the current sort of the network of freighters, network of sea freight, the business that's been set up, those are historically been sort of the strong ties there. Can that region expand? Absolutely. It's just a matter of time, changing that. And I think it's just how much of network that we can build, what sort of regulations we can build. I mean, specifically, we've excluded Morocco, maybe Tunisia out of the North African, and that's because when we interviewed a lot of these sort of the EMEA supply chain, in charge, they always said that we tend to serve them out of France as a country, and that works very well. And hence why Libya was a bit of a wild card, but then stability was not there. But that's, I hope I answered your question about our selection of those countries.
We can take one more question. Our friend from Saudi Arabia has one more. And then we'll try and wrap up this session, because I hope you guys are a little hungry, but we need you back after lunch. Exciting presentations.
Please.
The last question up front here.
My name is Christian Jokoto from Ghana, the MD of Senama Logistics. My question goes to the Chamber of Commerce. I would like to know if there is a special policy towards West Africa, especially our energy sector.
Can you just repeat that question?
I would like to know if there is any special policy, trade policy towards West Africa economy, especially our energy sector.
Thank you for your question. When we're there, we're not into, as a Chamber of Commerce, we work as facilitators. But when we looked at, when we studied West Africa in terms of the presence of our businesses here and the interest from the region, we looked at Nigeria, we looked at Ghana, we looked at Cote d'Ivoire and other countries within West Africa. One of the sectors, of course, there are many reasons factors that has contributed towards the decision to have our first office in West Africa, in Accra in Ghana, whether it's the stability or the English language or the connectivity among the neighboring markets around us. But when we looked at sectors as well, energy is one important sector. Although Dubai has less than 2% of oil contributing to its GDP, it is the services sector that comes around the energy. So that sector in particular, the downstream and the services from the region, interest in that oil and energy sector, that's where Dubai businesses here benefit as well. So to answer your questions, we're not involved in policies. We're more of facilitators for businesses across various sectors. But specifically, energy is one element that has contributed towards the decision to have a presence in Accra, in Ghana.
Okay, we'll take one last question here before we break, ladies and gentlemen. Up front here.
Sorry, I didn't mean to take too many questions, but it's my question for the last speaker, but not the least. Yes, you. You mentioned DWC and the beautiful growth that we see and the problem that you have, that you like the kind of problem. Does WDC think ever of going across the borders of UAE to other neighboring countries to probably manage, take over some existing areas to develop, to manage, to help other ports? I know it may not be good, but it's good to diverse. And you mentioned Libya. Could you please elaborate on what was supposed to happen in Libya and why it was just not the right place to compete with DWC?
Sorry, I'm going to skip the Libyan part of it. It's just, I think the instability is probably the only word I can explain.
No, I want to know what exactly was supposed to happen there.
No, when we looked at specifically those countries, we looked at sort of the network, how many flights, the sort of the services, the sea freight. Historically, yes, there's a lot of trade that happened before all this, especially with the SME businesses. So those are the things we looked at. Now, okay, with the crisis that's there, obviously you don't have many flights going there. You don't have it's one of those things. Is like what His Excellency Sultan mentioned. A country like Iran, once you remove things like sanction like that, then it becomes as a potential good opportunity. Similarly with Libya, once things stabilize, we were probably one of the first people who started doing business in there. Our businessmen, or also even some of the government entities start flying there. So it's being ahead of it, but it's just, I think it's a temporary stop, but it will probably pick up quicker. Now, in terms of DWC, I think we've got probably a huge thing on our plate right now to take care of at home time. But I think the success stories is, people like EZW who have, and they've been success stories, they will probably have gone abroad and invested. And of course, DP World is all. But for the time being, we are not. We're focusing on sort of our area. But certainly at Dubai government, a lot of those success stories, EZWs and DP World, I think, are a great example of people who have gone abroad. Probably it's worth looking at them.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Speakers, the panel, I can't thank you enough for your participation and your insights. We're going to be breaking for lunch very soon, but before we do that, we would like to give you a small token of our appreciation, so don't leave the stage for just another minute. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, just before you leave, I would like to thank David and our esteemed panel for being with us today. And just a few reminders. Please know that tomorrow we'll be having a site visit to Jabal Ali Free Zone and DP World. And another visit will be to Dubai World Central. So actually you get to see firsthand everything that was explained today, firsthand tomorrow with the site visit. If you haven't already signed up, please contact the front desk for a sign-up sheet. Also, reminder for tomorrow's one-on-one meetings. This is a great opportunity to network with your fellow colleagues in the industry from all over the world. If you need to sign up, please contact the front desk. You can sign up for one-on-one meetings. And Etihad Airways representative will also be available, and they will be offering special rates to NAFL members and delegates. Thank you very much. Lunch will be served downstairs, and we'll see you back here in about an hour. Thank you. Hope that you guys enjoyed the lunch, and we should be ready to kick off our second exciting session of the day. First reminder, I'd like to remind everybody, or make note, tomorrow's schedule has been changed by just 1 hour. So the one-on-one meetings, instead of 8 to 10, they will be from 8 to 9, and everything will follow in the same sequence. This is in order to accommodate the big demand for the field trips tomorrow to the port and DWC. So if you have already scheduled one-on-one meetings, please contact the front desk, and they should reschedule or try to fit you in within the first hour. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker and moderator of our second session. With over 20 years in the industry, he is the current president of the Association of Multimodal Transport Operators of India, vice president, Federation of Freight Forwarders Association in India, managing committee member of Brihan Mumbai Customs House Agent Association, and president of the Rotary Club of Mumbai Pier. Please help me welcome Mr. Salesh Bhatia.
Good afternoon, everybody. After a heavy lunch, it's very difficult to hear some heavy speakers, but I can promise you that the speakers we have today with us, they are going to make it worth the while, and you'll be feeling very energized after you listen to them. So let me welcome Mr. Tushar Jani, Mr. Babar Badat, Mr. Christian Jewel,